Welcome to Jacksonville Inside and Out. This week we are talking to Omega Allen. She is the no party affiliate candidate for mayor, running against Alvin Brown. And who are the other two in the race?
I'm really the only one you need to know, but
Okay.
Lenny Curry and Bill Bishop.
Okay, Curry I've heard. Bill Bishop is the one I keep always forgetting. But, and you have a background in Jacksonville, working in various administrations. You worked under Mayor Delaney. What was it you were doing it for?
Well, actually, I was not a paid employee under Mayor Delaney. I was appointed to the Northwest Jacksonville Economic Development Advisory Committee, and we were the administrators of $25 million of the Better Jacksonville Plan, and those funds were specifically earmarked for economic development north and west of the river.
Okay. Now, when we hear about the Better Jacksonville Plan, I remember that campaign, and I remember there was a lot of stuff that was promised in that campaign, but the only thing that really seemed to happen was the courthouse. I mean, any idea what happened to the other things that were supposed to happen?
Well, there were some things that did happen in addition to the courthouse. There was some infrastructure that was started, but I don't think any of it was actually finished. I saw a lot of projects beginning in the north side of town, in the northwest sector of the city, and I was really proud of that. However, it did not get to completion.
Okay. And under Mayor Payton, you were part of?
Neighborhood Stabilization Program. I was the program manager for that.
Okay. And how did that go? What do you feel was accomplished with that, or what do you think was not accomplished? I mean, there has to be two sides of that, right?
Well, we did a lot of good. We were not able to renovate as many homes as we had planned. Well, let me tell you what the program was all about. It was a HUD-funded program, but not your typical HUD program. It was designed to identify and reclaim foreclosed upon properties in 5 areas of town. We selected 5 of the hardest hit zip codes, and we worked in those areas, identifying the foreclosed properties that were leading to blight. The program was designed to purchase them, renovate them to like new, and then sell them to qualified home buyers. And the area medium income was the determining factor as to what families could actually apply for those homes.
Okay. And well, knowing what you know now, was there anything you would have done differently with that?
Well, not really. I think the problem we ran into, we thought that the banks would have been much more willing to put this bad paper back on the street, but we had a hard time getting our hands on foreclosed upon properties. We thought they would be chomping at the bit to get them into our hands. You had people, willing developers, who were going to purchase them and put them into the program and go through the entire program cycle, which ended up with those properties being back on the tax roll and with people living in them, and we didn't understand why they didn't follow suit.
Okay, that makes sense.
We thought we would do 480, I think it was. We did a little over 100.
Okay, so yeah, there's a big disparity there.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get the banks to really go along with anything unless they see a real immediate profit. I think that's the big problem with.
Well, it would have been immediate. It would have been bought right off of their list of foreclosed upon properties. We were dealing with the bank-owned entities, and
right.
We just didn't understand why they didn't see what we saw.
Yeah. Okay. Now, additionally, you've been a real estate developer, or?
No, I'm a general contractor.
General contractor.
Yes,
Okay.
builder.
So tell us about your background here in Jacksonville, what you did as a contractor.
I am still a general contractor. I have been an entrepreneur most of my adult life. I was an international hair designer for 22 years here in Jacksonville. with a couple of salons in the Jacksonville area. I'm real big on local businesses, and I taught for a short period of time in the Duval County school system as an English language arts teacher. So, but that's a little of my background. But as a builder, my work has basically been in commercial. I do some residential, but it's been basically commercial. I worked at the hangar S11 up at Jacksonville International Airport, and then I also worked at the new hangar 935 out at Cecil Airport.
Okay. Now you said you were a teacher for a
Yes.
while. Now you're running for mayor, so on the education front, is there anything that you would do? Because right now, at least in my opinion, the way I see it, we fund our public schools with property taxes, which means some schools are getting more than others, or is there a way to balance that out in any way? Do you see any way of trying to make it so that schools that are in poorer neighborhoods get the same type of funding that, say, a rich neighborhood? Like when I lived in LA, it's like my school in South Central versus the school in Beverly Hills. I mean, how do you make those equitable, or even close to equitable?
I'm not really sure how you do it, but I do think there needs to be some attention given to it to try to correct that disparity. I do also know that most of the schools in your more affluent areas receive a lot of assistance from parents, from the local business people in that area. So that is one of the things that I know causes them to prosper more than the schools in a less fortunate area.
All right. Well, we will be right back here with more of Jacksonville Inside and Out. Again, our guest here today is Omega Allen, who's running for mayor. Welcome back to Jacksonville Inside and Out. We are here with Omega Allen, who's running for mayor. And now we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that she wants to do as mayor. One thing that stood out to me when I looked at your brochure was wanting to do something about the homeless problem in Jacksonville.
Yes.
Now that's a big issue to me. I spent a couple of years here in Jacksonville as a homeless veteran, and it really took a lot of wrangling with the VA and everything to finally get myself out of that. But certainly something I couldn't have done alone, because it's just not an easy situation trying to look for work while you're on the street. Mm-hmm. But according to your campaign material, you want to do something about the homeless problem in Jacksonville. And I was wondering what it is that you think is the solution.
Well, I know that we have a lot of veterans who are a part of that population. I believe that, and I am not so naive as to believe that everybody that's homeless is a victim of some circumstance. Some people actually do it because that's their choice. But even those persons still need their basic needs met. And for someone who was in the position as you were in, trying to find a job, but no home base to operate from, I believe that I have identified a facility that I think we can renovate to becoming a transitional place of refuge for those who are not really looking to do anything else, but still a place of refuge, a place where they can meet their basic human needs. And then for those who are looking to re-enter society as a viable participant in society, then there should be an area that's reserved for them. Actual housing. I had the awesome opportunity of speaking with several homeless guys in the park at the opening of the Charlie's Cafe, I spoke with them, and one of them was saying to me, I have money. I make X number of dollars a month, you know, the check that he gets. And he says, so I would be willing to pay for some place, but I don't know of any place that's offering. So why not have a facility, a multi-purpose, multi-use facility to meet the needs of those who are homeless? And I think that that would work.
Okay. Have you looked at some of the ways that other states have dealt with the issue? Utah in particular, I was really impressed with. Are you familiar with their program?
I am not, but I do know that there are several. Utah, and if I'm not mistaken, I think I was told that Houston has an excellent program. So what I would be doing is commissioning a task force to get right on that, because there's no need in reinventing the wheel. Right. If it's happening, if it's rolling along someplace else, let's just get on it and do the same thing. And I think that those kinds of models would be good for us to imitate.
Well, Utah actually just did a cost-benefit analysis, and what they found was providing small homes, like very small, like FEMA-type trailer-type homes, to all their homeless population without any kind of strings attached. It ended up saving them money on the hospital visits that end up not getting paid for because homeless people don't have medical insurance generally. It saved them a lot of money in the jail, because a lot of homeless people will end up in jail just because, like here in Jacksonville, if you're asleep on the street, you can go to jail for that, you know, especially if you're caught multiple times. Right. It's like, well, where are you going to sleep if you don't have a place to sleep? But it's these kinds of laws that kind of, and like I said, Utah found that it saved them money. I mean, would you be open to looking into something like that, or at least trying a program like that?
Actually, yes, because when I was with the NSP, in fact, one of the developers on our team was looking at a strip of property and looking at some, I don't know if they were row houses, but very small little houses, and it seemed to have been almost like a little commune. And I think something like that could have been established. It did not make it into the NSP program that I recall, unless it did after my departure, but something along those lines would be absolutely wonderful.
Okay. Now, what are some of the other projects? You talk about renovating downtown, developing the downtown area. Every mayor since I've been here, and I got here in January '94, every mayor has talked about developing downtown, and it's just something that has continually not happened.
Well, if you remember on my literature, it said real downtown development, because you're absolutely right. It has been a big talking point and a big buzzword sort of thing, as if maybe as a catalyst to get people to vote for you. But I believe that the very first thing is taking care of our homeless population. Once you get that working over here on the outskirts of the core of downtown, but not so far away that they cannot receive whatever benefits are available to them in that area, the hospitals and that sort of thing. Once you have them taken care of, now you can start to actually attract businesses and developers to come in, because downtown is the heart of any city. And when the heart dies, so does the city. And our heart is really, really on its last leg. So we need retail, residential, and entertainment. And I believe that once we take care of our homeless population, we can start to synergistically bring in those persons who can help us to develop downtown.
All right, and we will be back with more of Jacksonville Inside and Out. Again, this is Omega Allen. I'm Christian Gore, and we'll see you in just a few minutes after these promotions. Welcome back to Jacksonville Inside and Out. Again, I'm Christian Gore. We're here with Omega Allen, and we're talking about the issues that face Jacksonville. We're talking about downtown development and the homeless situation. We were talking about the homelessness being a problem that needs to be addressed before downtown development can be dealt with. Now, to that point, a friend of mine named John Floyd, he was a homeless man living downtown. He actually had a job, he worked, and he was saving up his money to get an apartment. He was 30, he had just turned 31 years old when he died this past December. I still don't know exactly how that happened. So I don't know if it was natural causes. It seems like it probably was, but and that's just a risk of living out in the elements. I mean, he had a tent in the woods downtown. I mean, how do you address these issues? How do you address these issues? I mean, how do you address these medical issues, the mental illness issues that come with homelessness?
I believe that the city has got to partner with the nonprofit organizations that their mission is to deal with the mental illness aspect of our community. We need to partner with the nonprofits that deal with homelessness,
right,
with feeding the homeless, those sorts of things. But as I said, I believe that the city has to take responsibility because, see, as mayor, and I call myself the people's mayor, so I can't be just the mayor of the homeowner. I've got to be the mayor of the homeless as well, and I've got to operate with their well-being in mind. So I believe that, as I was saying, a facility or a group of homes, something that helps them to take care of their basic needs. Because at 30 years old, natural causes is not usually associated with 30-year-olds,
right,
unless something happened. And as you said, living out in the elements, anything can happen. So, but I believe that if the kind of establishments that I'm thinking about were available to him, he would still be here.
Well, the other issue, when I was doing the protest with Occupy Jacksonville, we were out there 24 hours a day, just constantly. And one night, we had a homeless person who attacked us with a knife. Now, the problem isn't so much that there's a problem that he attacked us. It's a problem that the police were a little weary of doing anything about it. But the other thing is, okay, so he ends up getting arrested. He ends up going to jail. That costs us more money, but it's not solving the problem,
right,
because the problem is that the individual was schizophrenic and wasn't getting medication, had no access to treatment. Now, you can't force people to get treatment, but we as a country, not just as a city, but as a country, have to do a better job dealing with mental illness. I mean, how do you go about doing that, though?
You have to make it available. You're right, you cannot force it upon anybody, but usually the professionals who work in that arena, they are trained to help coax them into receiving that kind of treatment. You and I probably have no clue as to how to get somebody to. We think, well, man, you need to get this done. You need help, but that doesn't translate like that to them. But there are people who are trained to get them to come into, but they cannot bring them someplace that does not exist. We have got to have facilities that are directly related to mental illness, because that is a major part of what's wrong with our homeless population.
Okay, and there are a couple of more topics that are really important, at least to me, and I'm sure it's important to a lot of the city as well. One is the fact that there is no Veterans Hospital in Jacksonville. That if you don't have the transportation to get out to Lake City or Gainesville, you rely on volunteer drivers to get you out there, and if there's not a volunteer driver that day, you have to cancel your appointment for surgery or what have you. Do you see any way, because the VA is not a local thing, but do you see any way of as mayor trying to get the federal government to address Jacksonville as a priority for veterans when we have 2 Navy bases here. We used to have the Air Base, but we have 2 Navy bases here. We have a lot of veterans in the city who could really benefit from a full hospital rather than a couple of little clinics.
You're absolutely right. I agree. There needs to be a hospital here. I was not aware of how important it was. I didn't know how poorly the transportation system was or is for getting veterans from here to the Gainesville. We always think, those of us who are not veterans, we say, oh, they got the Veterans Hospital over there, and thinking that there is some system in place. But as I understand, the system has major flaws. So I would be in favor of, as the leader of this city, to definitely seek federal funding for, and talk to whomever I need to, take it to the governor, and let's sit down and talk about it and see if we can't put the hospital here. We've got more land than we know what to do with at the moment, so I don't see why we would not have one here. So
you would say, how do you bring people like Andrew Crenshaw and I'm blanking on my own representative, Corinne Brown. How do you bring 2 diametrically opposed people together? Because Congress is probably the people who have the ability to try and get that money. Mm-hmm. How do you get 2 people like that together on an issue?
You appeal to their humanitarian side. You know, it's really not about political lines, which is why I run MPA, because it's not about political party agendas, it's about the people. And once you get off that focus, then you know you're on the wrong side. I believe that we can get with them, I can pull them together, put aside political differences, and let's deal with the people. Veterans have given their lives for us. What are we going to do for them?
Thank you very much for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
This is Omega Allen, and this is Jacksonville Inside and Out, and we will see you next week when our guest will be author, local writer, Sandra Lee.